Welcome to Simchat Torah, the festivities, the joy of Torah, right? The culmination of the holiday of Sukkot, the culmination of the period of high holidays, the end of our reading cycle of the Torah, and the beginning of it again. This is what we're celebrating. This is what we're commemorating. Mental Health Awareness Day. It is also National Coming Out Day. Tomorrow is Indigenous People Day or Columbus Day. Depends on how you want to look at it. It's a lot of stuff happening in our world today. And as I just wrote something that we're publishing tomorrow for our newsletter, but right, we're offered great opportunities to reflect on how do we say to the world, this is who I am. This is my heritage. This is my culture. This is my land. These are my neighbors. This is my history. Right? These are my struggles. This is who I am. I am not perfect. Right? All of these culminating and sort of so it is without a doubt, I guess, perhaps then the most appropriate moment to sort of, I want to say welcome back, but I don't think you ever left. So to welcome back Rabbi Mike Borovitz, right? My friend, my mentor, my rabbi, my teacher, right? My Bal Plukta, as he says, right? The person I argue with the most, other than my husband, but right, right. So no better day than to acknowledge the presence of greatness. Rabbi Mark.
Thanks, Iggy.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be with you. And I just, as you were talking, what struck me was it's important in coming out for me to say this is who I am, and also at that same moment, either ask you or recognize you are who you are. Mm-hmm. So right. I want to start something with Rabbi Heschel.
Shock and dismay. Go on.
He says, this is what we mean by the term spiritual. It is the reference to the transcendent in our own existence, the direction of the here toward the beyond. He goes on to say different things, but he says the spiritual is not something we own, but something we may share.
Wait, say that again, last sentence. Say that again, last sentence.
The spiritual is not something we own, but something we may share in. We do not possess it. We may be possessed by it. And then he goes on to say, it's impossible to grasp spirit in itself. Spirit is a direction, the turning of all beings to God. So it's so interesting because as we're going to get into this chaos, I think chaos in creation, I think that the first thing that causes chaos is us trying to own.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's a great intro to what we're going to study today, when we talk about today, right? And by the way, for everybody, this is sort of a conversation between me and Mark about chaos. But if you have any questions, or comments, write them in the chat. Raise your hand in the feature, and we would love, as always, to make this interactive and to talk to people, right? Rather than just performing Torah, we would like to sort of just really spend some time talking and answering also questions if you have them as we keep talking. So back to that, I think that's a great opening, because I think that that what we seem to forget is that spirituality is not an asset, right? As Heschel said, right? I don't own it. I can't have it in my suitcase, right? Spirituality is not an asset. It is uh, a discipline, a way of life, perhaps a lens to look through, right? Something that inspires us, maybe right a goal, but it is not something that we. I even want to say that we are allowed to think that it is ours, to put my stamp on it. This is mine. It's everybody's, right? And it's everybody's Torah, and that's I think part of the Simchat Torah, right? Everybody's invited. Everybody has, and we'll do this in the end of it. Everybody has a word, right? Everybody has something to claim from it, and when I try and own it, then I sin really. I think.
Right. So, for me, it's what Torah is. None of us own Torah. And that's so important for us to realize that Torah is here for all of us, and we have to be possessed by it rather than try and possess it. I love that phraseology, I guess it's called, but this sense that I become infused with it. It possesses me.
Right.
Then,
right.
then there is no national coming out day. There's no Indigenous People Day.
Right.
It becomes every day.
Right. Yes. Yes. It's funny. I have the same reaction sometimes, like in Hebrew, lahavdil, to change, right? When people say Yom HaShoah, right, the day of the Holocaust, and I always like get this visceral reactions, like the Shoah is not a day, right? It's right. It's not. It wasn't the day of Shoah, right? Sort of like and right, and sort of like you have to right expand, right? It's not right Indigenous Peoples Day, right? Right. I would say right. It is the day that we spend time thinking more about the Indigenous and what they gave us and what we are part of than the rest of the days, right? Except that that's a bit of a mouthful.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And for me, being possessed by Torah, being possessed by spirit means that it's something that is always in my consciousness.
Right. Right.
And I think that that's what Simchat Torah comes to remind us of, that Torah is always in our consciousness. Right. We can be possessed by it, or we can try and master it.
Right. Right.
And most of the masters of Torah do very little. They're not usually possessed by it.
Jess, right. Possesses and consumes seems conflated in today's culture, and especially on social media. We are consuming information. We are consuming spirituality or media now. That's right. That's right. That's right. I consume it, right? I bought it. I bought my mindfulness. I bought my yoga. I bought my ashtanga or shawanga, whatever it's called, right? I bought my mat. I bought my mindfulness teacher. I bought my rabbi, right? So like I right, it's mine. It's I agree with that. Sort of that we are conflating it. That's true.
Right. I mean, Rabbi Chaplain Rob is here, and I was just thinking about it as you were talking in your statement, Jess. People in the military serve.
Right.
And they become possessed by that service. They don't own it. And what happens for us is we become possessed by owning, right? Consuming, instead of allowing the spirit, the Torah, the yoga, whatever anyone's spiritual discipline is, to possess us. Many of us talk about being in love rather than loving. Love, I'm possessed by love. My wife is possessed by love. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be together. My love for Iggy is not based on anything he does or doesn't do. It's, I'm possessed by this love. Think of how that changes the way we live.
Right.
So if we look at Bereshit, right, when in the beginning God created heaven and earth, and heaven and earth was chaotic and empty, unformed and void. So I actually prepared for this a few minutes ago, Iggy.
Yes.
I prepared.
Good. I'm. That's amazing. I'm like, I mean, you should tell it to everybody else because, like, I'm. Also, again,
Rob's left.
I think the caveat is that you a few minutes ago. So that's.
Well, right. You know, Rob, Rabbi Rob Friedman worked at Beit Shuvah, so that's why he's laughing so hard
That's right.
about it. Nachmanides says that bohu is, it is in it.
So
Bohu.
okay, right, but let's put up. Should we put up the text first?
Sure,
Yeah?
whatever you want to do.
Okay, let's put up the text for everybody. So here's the source sheet, right? So just to read, right? So what we're starting to talk about is the really right beginning of Genesis, the really beginning of the story. If you have a Bible there, you could open it yourself, right? When God began to create heaven and earth, this is the Sephariah translation, right? And there are many of, right? That verse alone is a very unique sort of verse, and it's hard to translate. So, but this is their version, right? Bereshit bara Elohim, right? When God began to create heaven and the earth, right? The earth being unformed and void with darkness over the surface of the deep, and the wind from God sweeping over the water. Tohu vavo. So the word void with darkness is what we're calling here, right? If you see tohu vavohu, Tohuvavou, tohu vavohu, which is really an interesting phrase. It appears just a few times in the Torah, in the Bible. Only once in the Torah, three times in the Bible itself. We'll talk about that in a second, right? And darkness is around, and the Spirit of God, the wind of God, Ruach Elohim, right, hovers, merachepet apnei hamayim, hovers, sweeping over the water, right? Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from darkness. God called light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, a first day, right? So that's really, right? That's really sort of like the beginning of this particular story, right? So let's talk about this tohu, which I think traditionally people used to translate as chaos.
Right. So Nachmanides says tohu, unformed, and vohu is the word for forms that are clothed with matter.
Say that again.
Tohu vabohu. Bohu, yes. That is the word for forms, in quotes,
yes,
that are clothed with matter.
Okay.
It's a compound word, bohu. It is in it.
Bohu.
Right.
Is in Hebrew, yes. Bo in it, who. It is in it. Yeah.
So to is, of course, future, right?
Tohu?
Yeah.
It has
it will be.
Yeah, it will be, right? It's one of the things. So what speaks to you about that particular sort of like understanding of it?
Well, for me, what it is that our life is unformed. We try so hard to have the plan and to make sure that we're in the box, and then shit happens. And we don't know what to do with it. So this is coming to tell me my life is always going to be unformed, and I can move. I just have to move through it. The bohu is how I continue to realize that there's emptiness, that there's a void. And that's not terrible. It's part of what life is. And there will always be darkness. And I don't have to be trapped. Right. So this sense for me is that unformed is something I'm always arriving. I'm never there. Think of how much time anybody spends in trying to get there. The right job, the right house, the right this, the right that, enough money, right? You know, when John D. Rockefeller was asked how much is enough money, he said a little more than I have.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to arrive someplace rather than being arriving, that this is the next stop. That's what it is. We're in the next, we're here for a minute and now we have to keep moving. And as we keep moving, every time we move, there's a void, there's an emptiness on two levels. One, there's emptiness from where we were, we're not there. And two, there's an emptiness that we're going to because we don't know what's there. And we haven't filled that space yet. And that's always going to bring this darkness because we can't see exactly what we're doing or what is right now. And
So,
only by grabbing only because of God's hovering and us tapping into that wind. So the wind of God clears it. The Spirit of God is what allows me to see.
is it what allows me to see or allows me to feel secure in that darkness?
Both end.
Coward.
No, it's both. I do. I believe that it's both because it's all experiential.
But that what I like this idea, right? It what it evokes in me is a sense of exhaustion already, right? It's sort of that I'm in constant movement in this we'll call it chaos, right? In this sort of thing, right? That there's no respite in it, right? It is constant, right? I often talk about that something similar in terms of time, right? It's sort of there's no such thing as the present, right? The present is an illusion, right? There's the past, right? And then there is the future, right? And the present is really 1 second long, right? And it has been made so clear, especially with this pandemic, right? We literally went to sleep in one world on March 12th, and on March 13th, it was a completely different world, right? Our present was completely upended, right, in that moment. And in that sense, right, there's no real, because it's an illusion. It can break in a moment. But either way, like, right, it's constantly moving. And when do I get to breathe, right?
And
Like,
Shabbos.
right, right, right. What Harriet, right, sort of calls, right, the myth of arrival. Like, but is it really a myth? Is there no moment that I could just say, like, stop? Like, you know, I'm tired of the chaos. I'm tired of this darkness.
I think that's the problem is we get tired, so therefore we come up with solutions. We arrive, we stay stuck. Think about this. Iggy, if you look at your own life,
Mm-hmm.
think of the times that you stopped and how stuck you became.
Yeah, but
Think of,
sometimes one stops because you have to, right?
but that's what I'm saying. Shabbos can be the day. It could be, you know, I look at it like I have to create Shabbos within me. I have to take those moments of every day of just being. You know, Moshe Leib of Sasov said any human that doesn't take an hour for themselves each day isn't really human.
So
And
how
I
does one?
know
So go on.
I can't, if I stop today, then I have no tomorrow. Think of how many people live in the past, they're looking for the good old days. Make America great again. Really, let's make ourselves greater than.
I don't know who's opera. Is this your background, the opera? Somebody else.
Yeah, Harry's. We have our dog, so the dog is learning opera.
Oh, okay. I was like,
It soothes her.
okay. The dog already needs soothing. Jesus Christ, those dogs. But okay. Um, but right. So this it's a nice way to look at it, right? In that sense. And I think my initial question was like, what do you do? How does that hour look like for you, right? The hour of humanity, right? That sort of makes you human, right? As he says, right? What does that hour look like? Is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it a walk in the park? Is it opera with the dog? Is it right? Is it prescribed? Is it not prescribed? Like what?
Well, I think that depends on the day and on the human, on the person. So think of think of the times when you're studying with somebody and you're just going at it and you're totally lost. There's no time. There are experiences that we have that go beyond time.
But that's a good thing, no?
Yes. And the chaos is part of life. See, everybody's trying to get rid of chaos. We're trying to reason everything out, trying to make boxes and all these things, rather than going through the chaos. Because you see, what happens is most of us at any given time, all of us at one time or another get stuck either in the chaos, the emptiness, or the darkness.
Right.
Very few people stay in the spirit.
I agree with that. I mean, in that sense, right? For me, the chaos. Yeah, I can show you the thing, right? So I've learned this when I was very young, right? Rashi says, right? Tohu vavo, right? Desolate and void, right? That's what he says. However, he says the word tohu signifies astonishment and amazement. For a person who would have been astonished and amazed, right? He says at the emptiness, but the word, right, in Hebrew, tohu leshon tema. And tema, right, like theme, right? The Rashi says it is a question of like, what? Wow, like what? Whoa, like right for Rashi, right? The tohu is a question. Why does the hour need to be defined and be different each every day? It's a good question for Mark, but I would say, and again, I think the definition, and this is part of this discussion, right? So that the way that God in the text looks, I'm reading Michael's question, Mark, sort of why does the hour need to be defined, right? That's sort of like, and then maybe I'm sort of like tipping my hand, but like, what is interesting in the text, right, as we read it, is that from Tohu Vavo, the next thing God does is define light and dark, right? That sort of in that sense, sort of the antidote of Tohu Vavo, if you will, or at least the counterpart of Tohu Vavo. I don't know if the antidote, the counterpart is God sort of like separating the light from the dark, or at least identifying this is light and this is dark, right? And then there is this sort of really, things, right? Rob says, well, I think part of the fighting, part of that desire to reason out through the chaos and get stuck goes hand in hand with the desire to own, possess. I think that part of the way to adjust our thinking with that actually comes from Islam, where the translation in the root SLM, right, same as Shalom, deals with the level of submission to God, right? And perhaps as well, yes, I mean, a Muslim is bound to God, right? Islam is to bound yourself to the will of something else. It is right, pure surrender in that sense, right? And by the way, because we just went through Yom Kippur, one of the amazing things in Yom Kippur, right, the great Aleinu, when we bow all the way to the ground, head down and everything, right? We do this once a year, but Muslims do this 3 times a day at least, right? 5 times a day, in fact, right? So for them, right, that exposing the largest part of your body without seeing, right? And basically acknowledging in the salat, acknowledging the sort of that God may protect us, is this sort of great physical surrender, which of course affects us directly, right? So that's definitely true. But in that sense, sort of, right, Mark, and looking at this chaos, the wonderment, right? What is the question that chaos, tohu vavohu, asks us, right? And if
I would say it differently. What's the question that tohu vavohu is the answer for?
what is the question that the tohu vavohu is the answer for? I don't know. What do you think? What does other people think? Again, you feel free to raise your hand if you want to go on. If you want to go on live, I'm happy to have a conversation.
I think that one of the things that we have to realize is that tohu vavohu comes to teach us. I think is the answer to, oh, I can own this.
I can own what? The chaos?
Yeah. I can own the earth. I can own this. I can own that. I can conquer the chaos, etc. So in his book, Man is Not Alone, Heschel says, creation in the language of the Bible is an act of expression. God said, let there be, and it was. And creation is not an act that happened once, but a continuous process. The word yehi, let there be, stands forever in the universe. So that let there be light, vayihi or, is a constant. It's a continuous, it's again, future. Think, I'm looking at it this way, that creation, this language is seeming more and more like a future. Not static. And lahavdil, right? To separate. Right? Isn't that the word?
Yeah, although, right, in that sense, I think it's more the identifying, not the separation. This is this,
okay.
This is that, right? So, because for me, right, in that sense, right, the chaos within is needed. We have to have chaos within.
Right.
Without it, there is no movement. Without that chaos, there is no humanity.
Right. So here's a way to look at it. I've said this in different forms, but I'm, I don't know, reworking it, repeating myself. If tohu is astonishment, as Rashi says, then as soon as that unformed, as soon as that the chaos comes, I become astonished by it.
Yeah.
Rather than fearful of it.
Well, I want to take a page from your thing, and it says not just astonish. I create a question out of it.
Right.
Right. I have to, in that sense, I have to ask myself, what am I wondering about? What am I seeing in myself, in the world, right? Because again, if I try and if I lean into that chaos, right, I go into my own addiction. If I lean into my chaos, I try to, right, that's like people who are addicted to their drama, right, sort of low-grade addiction, as you say, low-grade misery, as you say, right? So like this sort of like when I feel this sort of like chaos inside, I try to create chaos outside because then everything fits, right? I don't answer my phones. I don't open my bills. I scream and shout, right? I'm sort of right. I do all these things, but yes, we have to ask ourselves in a different way, right? Joe Kelso. So if its future is this the path, finding our way out of chaos? I think it's finding our way through chaos.
Right.
Understanding chaos.
Right. See, again, it goes to something I've said before. Am I asking, is this the right question?
Right.
I've had the wrong answer, the right answer to the wrong questions many times in my life.
Right.
So going through chaos brings me to darkness, and going through darkness brings me to Ruach Elohim.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting.
without it, I mean, look, when there's an earthquake here in California, the mountains grow.
Wait, say it again?
When the last big earthquake,
Yes.
the mountains grew,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right?
Well, if there's, right, if you push things up, it's sort of like, pardon me, but it's like, so like with like popping a zit, if you like create it like thing, it sort of like goes up, right? Sort of like,
Right. So if we take a look and see how we've grown through the chaos,
right.
the chaotic things that happen in our life usually help us move forward.
If we make them so,
Yes.
right? That's the key. We have to, and I think in that sense, that's the beauty with God. So like, right, that he understands that, and therefore he's like, okay, this is light and this is dark. But we often talk about, right, sort of light work and shadow work in the self, right? We often talk about, right, so like looking at ourselves through our good parts, but also our shadow parts, right? That we have to identify that we are all, right, we're all part of the same thing, right? As Rabbi Cook says, right, right, Tshuva was created in the beginning, before the world was created, before man was created, Tshuva was created, because sin, right, missing the mark, chaos is part of us, and we have to find a way back, right? So we have to create a space for to acknowledge that and make it meaningful. But for that, we have to, right? So like there's that. I mean, I don't particularly like the story, but it's useful this particular moment about, right, the white wolf and the black wolf, right, and right, and the war between them, and the boy that asks the wise man, the grandfather, whatever, who wins, and he's like, the one you feed, right? But in that sense, right, I think you have to feed both of them. If you don't feed both of them, then you are in chaos all the time.
Right. Right. I think that that's a really important thing, because in this, you can't get rid of any of it. See, when Torah possesses me, which it does a lot, and in this incarnation of Torah this year, what I'm getting is that I have to go through it all. I can't try and ignore any part of what is. So there's chaos not only in the physical world, but there's chaos in our world, in us. We keep trying to get rid of it through different things. I'm going to meditate my way out of it. I'm going to do this out of it, and I'll be cured. As I like to say, only hams are cured in their trafe. You know what I mean? So,
but delicious. All I'm saying.
I am not disagreeing.
Exactly.
But I got to tell you something, okay? For a lot of years, booze was just wonderful.
Oh, yes, I agreed.
So Michael said something.
Yes.
In
right?
birth,
Yeah, go on.
In birth, growth and change isn't chaos. Growth and change isn't chaos part of the process. Absolutely, chaos does not have to be bad. That's the choices we have to work through the chaos and choose how we deal with it. Absolutely. And most people, Michael, run away from it.
Right. Chaos is neither good nor bad. It's just chaos.
Right.
Like Tovavo is neither one way or the other. It just is. And it is and I would say, for me, right, Tovavo, that chaos is a teacher, because when there is Tovavo, there is creation or potentiality of creation. Right. So when there's chaos, I'm like, oh, I have to think, I have to sort of mark this and say like, oh, what is then the next light and darkness?
Right. And ultimately, I would say that God's solution, and not solution, but solution.
Response.
Being in response solution, being in for us humans is connection.
I mean, ultimately, right? That's sort of the ultimate process in the end is, right, humanity.
Right.
The ultimate process of creation is humanity in that connection, right?
Right. So Rabbi Heschel says that we're a divine partner, a divine need. And we need each other.
Yeah.
But we keep trying to own. We try to own God. We try to decide this is what God is saying. I mean, some of my rabbinic friends and some of my Christian friends, we all lament our co-clergy needing to tell us exactly, what is the truth. And here, if we're never there, and if spirit is direction, then how do we own the truth? So I think that the chaos is something to celebrate and say, oh boy, something's going to get created.
It's funny because when you say that, and when we talk, like, so I want to show people something. I'm showing you one of the early translations of the Bible. This is called Targum Yonatan. It's into Aramaic. I'm fully aware that most people don't speak it, right? Shame. But this one, and even the English translation is actually kind of bothering because it's not exactly true, right? But the Targum Yonatan, which is one of the first Targumim, one of the first interpretation of Talmud, right? Interpretation of the Torah, and of course, every translation is an interpretation, right? This is the second verse. Fine, right? Al ape tehoma veruach, right? Which the spirits, ruach rachmin, right? Which is another way of God, min kadam. Adonai mantaba alape maya, and mantaba, right? This unbelievable thing, this unbelievable word, mantaba alape maya. If you read it on its value, right? So this is the English says, the spirit of mercies from before the Lord breathed upon the face of the water. That is a wrong translation. This has a sexual connotation. That is a sort of that the breath of God, right? Like flows into the water. Mantaba al alpemaya, so it goes into the water. And what is fascinating about this, of course, is because I feel that like part of that creation comes from that chaos, because sort of God, as you said, and chaos sort of kind of create humanity, impregnate each other into this connection, create something that's new. And you need those forces of creation as sort of one kind of penetrates each other, goes into each other, moves around, rolls around in the hay, if you will, in the sort of primordial hay, if you will, to really create something that's new. And then comes light and dark. And then afterwards comes man.
So what are you saying? It flows into?
That without it, right, that God's space within the chaos, this sort of impregnation is the seed of it all. That the chaos is the seed of new, chaos is the seed of creation, chaos is the seed of growth. The tohu vavohu, what is in it, much like a pregnancy, is what breeds later on, so like a new life, a new human, a new thing. Are there sexual conditions that aren't in the Hebrew? Yes, they are. Sandra, sorry.
So it's interesting because think about it, how often we don't let God infuse the chaos.
Right. Where we enjoy the chaos, right? We can hide in the chaos.
Or use it to control others.
Right. Right, the chaos.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. The chaos is this kind of pseudo need, right? Don't you know all the complexities of my life? You don't know, right? So like, right, don't you know how difficult this is? Right? So like, if only you knew my life, you wouldn't feel X, Y, and Z. If only you knew everything I have to deal with, right? So X, Y, and Z. We use that chaos as a way to um, manipulate or alleviate our own responsibility in it, and trying to have other people create order. But we know that that's not what we can do.
Well, there's that, and there's also us sowing the seeds of chaos so that we can be the hero.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Are these afflictions? It's always come back to, are these afflictions dear to you, Lord Morris? It is
Right.
by far, right, as Mark knows, I believe that sort of the entire Talmud rests upon those words.
I agree. I think all of Judaism rests. That's being possessed by Torah means that the rewards, the affliction and the rewards are no longer dear to me.
Right. And how difficult it is to say that on a daily basis.
Yeah. Right. So actually, if you all want to study something, read something every day and study it. Gray Sheet 5. You should send it out to everybody,
We can,
Iggy,
yeah.
because it is so powerful. It basically says, it does two things. It asks if what we're the affliction,
Right.
our misery, is dear to us, and it says we need help getting out.
Absolutely.
So it's connecting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying like one of my favorite iterations of that is an intervention I learned from you, right? Which is the lies I tell myself. Right? So like really going into every day and asking, what are the lies that I tell myself? Because those are the afflictions that are dear to us. Right? And from the big ones, right? I can't do it, right? This is I'm not worth it. Right? But even to the small ones, sort of like, right? The small lies we tell ourselves to either make ourselves feel better or all the ones that sort of we keep holding on to because we don't want to tell the truth.
Right. So Christy says there's a raw, vulnerable moment in chaos that leaves a space for creation. And I agree 100%.
That's right.
Now you want to do Torah Tarot?
Yeah, let's do some Torah Tarot. Okay, so it's 1:51. We have about 9 minutes. So the way I decided to do this, the easiest way to do this, is for people, they have to choose 3 numbers, and they can put it in the chat, and then I'll open it up, and we can sort of like do this together. So the idea is you choose a number from 1 to 255, a second number from 1 to 20, and a third number from 1 to 10. So it will be like 50-5-3. And the reason is sort of like I have my trusted Bible. So there are 250 pages in this Bible of mine of the Torah. So you randomly will choose a page, choose a line, and then choose a word. And then that will be the random choice. And that word, right, will be the theme or invocation or question, something that you can sort of wrestle with or do this. So it bears to say this, sort of that in person, what we do is that we unravel the entire scroll of Torah, right, at Betshuva and Tshuva Center as well, eventually. We open the entire scroll and people stand within it, and then they randomly point to a word. And then one of the spiritual counselors translates what we're about to do. So, all right, Christy, 29, 11, 1. So 29, I'll try and do this as quickly as humanly possible. 29, here, 29, 11, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 1. And. So your word is and. What do we say if somebody in the world is and, right?
That means that you're gonna stop being one way. You're gonna see the wholeness of your life and of life and what's going on this year. That is The goal, that's the key. That's the secret, if you will. Being possessed by the whole instead of just a part.
I love that. That's cool. All right. 300, so 333,
330.
Michael?
Yeah, Michael's 333,
18.
18,
Great.
and 2.
And 2. You, as in you shall.
Okay. So this is your arriving. You're going to give up needing to be there and be on this journey. You're making this statement that I am. I'm arriving, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm moving.
That's cool. I like that. 131.
7, 3.
131, 7, 3. 131, 7, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Patch. In this like a patch of skin or a space on the skin. This is from Leviticus, right? So
Okay, so Lori, what it says is that you're going to be more in touch with your body this year. You're going to be able to use your body to move, to really be the vessel for your spirit that you've been searching for all these past years.
yeah, and I would say, sort of like, I like it because I would say even more to that in the sense is sort of that to look at the entirety, not just this one patch of thing in you, right? Not this like this is ugly or broken or this is thing, right? So like this is something. So yeah, so I see that resonates with you, Lori. That's really great. All right, Lindy. What?
Lori NYC is page 14.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, wait. Is that the next one?
Yeah.
Lori NYC. Great. 14.
14.
1485. 14. There we go. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brought, as in to bring back. This is from Lot, and to bring back all the stuff. So what are you bringing, right?
Well, I think it's asking you to look and see what you're bringing. You get to choose what are you going to bring from last year to this year, and what are you going to leave. So how do you bring your whole self this year? Bring more of you this year than you brought last year, and leave the things that bind you, bind you to ownership. Okay, Lindy is 154.
Every tribe, every tribe, everything that is part of our tribes is the word.
Is that every
everything? Tribe? Yeah, as in sort of like, yeah, as in.
Okay, so Lindy, this is where you get to be and see yourself as part of the whole.
That's right.
You're part of everything.
And to not separate yourself, right?
Right. You don't have to be off to the side anymore. You can't be marginalized because you're part of.
Rob, right? 7, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Thy. Thy is in, in your thing. We're talking in Shmot, we're talking about the seventh day that you and all of yours will stop.
What's the Hebrew?
Well, it's not. It's like as in, so the thing, right? And with thy, right? So like deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive grove, right?
Okay, so it's coming to remind you, Rob, that you have a place of leadership, that you have a place that is yours, and you get to fill it a little bit more this year than you did last year.
Yeah. Oh, you froze. Mark, you froze. Why is it just me?
It's saying, don't be that shrinking violet. Hello?
Yeah,
Did
you
you hear me,
froze.
Rob?
Can you repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, that you don't shrink, that you take the place that you're arriving to and being in and living wholly in that.
Absolutely. Ruth Goodman, so you choose three numbers, one between 1 and 255, one between 1 and 20, and one between 1 and 10, and we'll give you your Torah tarot. Joe Carroll, 30, 13, 3. So 30, 30, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 3. Blessed, 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 Joe Carroll.
Well, that pretty much says it. You get to bring the blessings to everybody.
And to acknowledge the blessings that you have.
Right. And again, just like with Rob, to not shrink from it.
Right. All right. 6, 21, 8. 6, 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 21.
8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To be filled.
Okay, Jason,
the malek, to fill, to be whole.
Right. So this is the year that you let go of all of the lacks. Yeah. Appreciate how full you are, how much you bring, and let go of what you don't have, what you think you lack.
That's right. That's right. 89, 410. This is fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. To be.
It's it. It's exactly what we're talking about, Joan. You're
be.
arriving.
That's right.
No longer are you stuck. No more being stuck. You're just moving it.
That's right.
All right?
42. Right, David. 42. David, 42, 12, 42, 18, 12. 42,
18, 2.
18, 2. Oh, sorry. 18, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that and 2. These are Elehem. These are. Right?
Okay. So this year you're gonna have sharper vision. These are, David, means that you're really seeing what is. And you're going to let go of the need to make things into what you want, but you're really going to see what is so you can respond instead of react.
Words of Torah, words of Torah. All right, just a few more. Mira, 6, 24, 46. So 6, 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 46. Oh no, there's no 46. Mira, just choose a number 1 and 10. Quickly.
8.
8.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breath.
Breath. That's it. So breath is the same. Nishma.
Breath. Sorry. It's the not neshama. It's the space of it all. The breath of it all.
Okay. So Mira, this year you're going to see more. You're going to see the wider picture. Most of us look at life through with blinders on, but this is telling you you're taking off the blinders, and you're
Good.
going to be able
Right.
to enjoy and really be possessed by the greatness, the wonder, the astonishment of it all.
Okay. So 18, 22, 18, 4. 1, 2, 3. Avraham is Ruth's word.
Okay, so Ruth, you're going to be the progenitor of new ideas, new ways, new experiences with God, and teach the rest of us. Abraham was our teacher. Abraham made many souls in Haran. So you're going to make souls this year. You're going to be that person that is the leader that wanders and leads at the same time.
All right. So lastly, Sandra, 36, 8, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With.
Sandra, you're no longer going to separate. You're no longer going to see yourself as different. You're going to see yourself with everybody as part of, and that connection and that beingness is going to form a whole new way of living for you this year.
Absolutely. You're part of something. You're with.
Yes.
You're not without. Absolutely.
Okay, and I'm going to give Iggy his word of Torah.
All right. No,
It's tohu. It's astonishment, it's wonder, because Iggy in this year, I know, is bringing more astonishment, more wonder to everything and everyone. And for you, my friend, you astonish me daily, and more than you even know, because I think about you and I just have these tears well up. And you bring so much to all of us. And Jess, your word is or. You are the bringer of light. Your meditation, your smile, your way of being brings us such great light and shines on us and reflects us to see more truth and more wonder and more beauty. And Yaniv, I would say your word is bohu. You find what's in everything. And you really, really make sure that we all can create something, because you bring all the material and you have this vision of seeing how it can really, really make it. And we can all make it. So I want to thank everybody.
There's also Benjamin. You want to give Ben a word?
Where's Ben? Oh, Ben. I didn't see Ben was still here. Benjamin.
Yes.
So your word is merachefet. You hover over things. You hover over things because this way it gives you a vision of it from 10,000 feet. And by hovering over it, you can make things flow, as Iggy said. You impregnate all of us with spirit, with music, with love, with ideas. And that is such a gift. And we're so, so grateful.
Yes. And you know, Mark, if that's true, then your word is Bereshit. Your word is the beginning. There would be no Tshuva Center without you. There would be no me in that sense without you. There would be none of this Torah without you. All of this would not exist without you and without Harriet, without the vision. So you are the beginning of it all, and we stand on the shoulders of giants. And we could not do this without you. And it's always, to say that this is an honor and a pleasure to do is really just words, but like this is truly, truly fun. So thank you for this hour. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
joy of Torah you're bringing. Thank you, everybody who participated, who was part of this. We're going to put this on our website as soon as we edit it a little bit together with the other stuff that we have. Check out everything else that we do. Check out our podcast, our Tshuva group that's happening on Thursday. We're starting, by the way, an LGBTIQ plus Tshuva group on Mondays that we're going to do. So look out for that as well. We're going to start a recovery group for artists, just for artists, for people who create art. And that's, Ben is going to lead that. That's coming up also very, very soon. And we're going to do a thing with Jax that is the 12 promises. We're going to look at the 12 promises, one promise each week, just like we did with the 12 steps with Jews. So we're looking at Jewish sources for the 12 promises. So that's coming up soon as well. In general, you can sign up for our things. Mark, again, thank you. Chag Sameach.
Iggy, Chag Sameach. Thank you to everybody also. All of you are so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Iggy, let's talk about doing the a 7-step group together.
I would love that. That would be amazing. I would love that. Cool.
Okay.
All right,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.